Greetings to all who may watch this video. I wanted to discuss this issue of does a God really exist? Because as many of you may have already noticed, the internet is where many atheists come to rant and vent about how a God cannot possibly exist. These same atheists often try to play the role of scientists and claim the title for themselves as being a rational and logical group of people. But these so-called rationalists will never be able to say for certain that a God doesn't exist, because even they acknowledge that matter cannot be created from nothingness. The only rational explanation to me and to the majority of the world is that the universe was created by a superior being that exists outside of time and space and has no beginning or end. They will also never be able to logically explain many aspects of our lives, such as the feelings that we have, from love to hate, sadness, fear, and many of the other feelings that make us human. Nor will they be able to explain our instinct nature to feel guilty when we have wronged ourselves or others. If a God really does exist, He must have created us for a purpose, along with a set of guidelines to achieve this purpose. These guidelines must be free of any contradictions, of course, and errors, and must be a complete way of life to enforce justice and to help settle our worldly disputes. Now, I know many of you are probably thinking every religion insists that is the one and only true religion. But let us quickly go over the religions of the world and see which religion could possibly be correct, solely based on logic alone for now. Let's focus on the 5 major religions of the world and see which religion can withstand the scrutiny of the rational mind. These 5 religions are Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Even though its followers are a very small number, I added Judaism anyway because its followers claim it to be one of the oldest religions of the world and because they are followers of the Old Testament. The first thing you may notice about all these religions, except for one being Islam, is that they are all named after a person or a tribe. But let's put this fact aside for now and focus on which one could possibly be from God. The first criteria I would use is which religion believes in one God. In Hinduism, Hindus believe in many gods, numbering in the thousands, while in Buddhism, Buddhists do not believe in any god or even the human soul. Both of these religions believe in a system called the wheel of life, which is the continuous process of rebirth called reincarnation. The 3 remaining religions claim to believe in one God, but the Christian belief in the Trinity, which is not mentioned once in the Bible, leads many people in doubt of it being a monotheistic faith. The second thing is God must have wanted all of mankind to follow His commandments, so He must have had some way of relaying His message to the entire world, regardless of their location. In Judaism, it's an exclusive religion. You must be born a Jew, and non-Jews can't even convert even if they wanted to. Christianity was mostly spread due to its followers' imperial ambitions, and according to their own encyclopedia called the World Christian Encyclopedia, Christianity has over 33,800 different denominations worldwide. They also believe if you have never heard of Jesus, their God, who they believe is actually His Son, came to die for your sins, then you will burn in hell for eternity. This also applies for children according to Christians. Hinduism is supposedly 4,000 years old, and 2/3 of its adherents still live in India where it originated. In Islam, Muslims believe God sent a messenger to every group of people around the world, but these messengers were later taken as gods after their death. In Islam, unlike Christianity, a person will not be held accountable if he or she has never heard of Islam. Muslims currently reside in every country on the planet, and for those who believe Islam was spread by the sword, Indonesia, which is the largest Muslim country, has never been invaded by a Muslim army. Even the Mongols who conquered Muslim lands ended up converting to Islam. To my knowledge, this is a unique event in history, which has never happened before, that the conqueror adopted the religion of the conquered. The third is, if a religion were to be correct, it must contain a set of laws directly from God to govern our worldly affairs. Judaism does claim to have divine laws, but you will rarely ever hear of a Jew wanting to enforce these laws, because if they did, then they will have to act upon many of the brutal laws found in the Bible, such as a rapist must marry his victim and never divorce her, or being stoned to death for disobeying your parents. Christians, on the other hand, have disregarded all the laws of the Old Testament completely, and they don't really have any divine laws to govern a nation. But when the Christians came to power in the early 4th century, they have been the bloodiest and most violent of all the civilizations in all of history. Islam is the only religion with a complete set of divine laws to govern a state and our social affairs. It was the first religion to recognize women's rights and made everyone equal in the eyes of God despite their race, economic, and social status. The history of the Muslim empire, which stretched from Spain to China and ruled for over 1,000 years, has been mostly blotted out in Western history books. This is mainly done to try to suppress its growth and to demonize Islam, despite the fact that both Christians and Jews lived peacefully under Islamic rule, and when the Jews were being persecuted in Europe, they found sanctuary in Muslim lands. Knowing this, you will still find Islamophobes claiming that Muslims want to kill everyone who isn't Muslim. I would also like to add that a book directly from God or inspired by God, as the Christians like to say, must be free of any contradictions or errors. The modern day Bible literally contains thousands of errors and contradictions. Even the oldest known Bible, called the Codex Sinaiticus, when compared to the modern day Bible, it shows that thousands of alterations have been made, including the addition of verses to support the Christian claim of Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, being God. On the other hand, the Quran is still in the same form it was revealed and is 100% free of any contradictions or errors. Every alleged contradiction made against the Quran has already been refuted. If you want to believe that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, who could neither read or write, was the author of the Quran, then how could anyone logically explain how the Quran could be free of any grammatical errors or contradictions if it was verbally recited by an illiterate man? The only logical explanation to this is that it must have been revealed to the Prophet Muhammad directly from God through the angel Gabriel, peace and blessings be upon them both. The final thing I want to mention on this subject is that atheists and agnostics often say Islam is an obstacle to the advancement of science and goes against evolution. My response is this is simply false. When Muslims were in power, they brought the world many technological and scientific achievements. No one can deny early Muslim discoveries in the fields of mathematics, astronomy, physics, and architecture haven't paved the way for the future advancements in these fields. 50 years before the West discovered a vaccine, Muslim children in Turkey were being vaccinated against smallpox. Many of the same surgical instruments used by surgeons today were devised by a Muslim by the name of Al-Zahrawi. Muslims were even the first to establish hospitals that were open to all people and free of charge. History remembers the Muslim era as being the Golden Age, while when Christians ruled, they brought to Europe Dark Ages. Now to the biggest problem atheists have with religion in general. It is that religion contradicts with evolution. While this is true for Christianity, it is not necessarily true for Islam. The only problem Muslims have with evolution is the claim that we evolved from apes. But in Islam it does mention that the first human being, Adam, peace and blessings be upon him, was of a different stature than we are today. And if you want to believe all living things evolved from microorganisms living in water, then this does not contradict with Islam at all. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran that He has created every living thing from water. I would like to end this video with a few verses from the Holy Quran so that you can further contemplate over the purpose of our creation. I sincerely hope that this video has changed your perspective about Islam and know that it is the only true and logical religion in the world.
كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم ثم يميتكم ثم يحييكم ثم إليه ترجعون هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن 7 سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون